Okie dokie. We'll see. I have a feeling there's going to be like 10 people here for this one.
That's all good.
I mean, I don't care. I would do it with just us. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I need. Let me make it before I just am like, let's go. But hello, everyone. Welcome to SJM-Along. We are at Tower of Dawn. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. The year's like coming to an end already. It's so strange. So weird.
The Excel spreadsheet that you created, Jen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we like only have these many lines.
I know.
It's going so fast.
I know. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited though that what's it called? Court of Frost and Starlight. Like I have that as only a 2-week one because I want to start Kingdom of Ashley. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't have time to do that, but I might start it anyway.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I want to read this, but
I'm so
Tracy, I have other friends besides Rachel. I love Rachel. Me and Rachel and Jackie sometimes. But you guys have stayed up with the rereads, and I appreciate that. Some people just couldn't hang with the cool kids. So. They couldn't handle it. And then when the next Crescent City comes out, they'll be like, oh, I wish I understood stuff. And I was like, maybe you would have if you did SJM-Along. We're happy for everybody. And what's great, these will exist forever. So when someone decides to do a read through and they have questions, hopefully we'll have touch on some stuff. Oh, thanks, Stacy. Glad we're just a little like run off. Are you there? Oh, thank you for being awake, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you for being awake because I'm pretty sure it's like 6 a.m. where you're at or earlier. So thanks, friend. Hi, Amanda. Glad that we can help, man. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I mean, I can't say, like I said at the beginning, I can't say that I would be faithful with the rereads if I didn't have the commitment either. I mean, I'm very glad I'm doing it, but I need the push to keep going because
absolutely,
like I have a lot of stuff that can get in the way, and I love this time to nerd out over it, and so I'm really glad. And every time I see like those TikToks nagging on Sarah J. Maas, I'm just like, you guys have no idea. Like you're literally so stupid. You want to think how smart these are? You're stupid, and I don't care. Like, maybe you feel too stupid to put the puzzle pieces together, but we're gonna make it happen.
Right.
That's right, Amanda. I'm so glad you are making.
Oh, yay!
That's so great. 2 quick announcements before we go, because we'll get diving right in as everyone joins us. First off, we're sending this. I hate that people made this cliche because it's going to sound cliche when I say this, but we're sending thoughts and prayers to Jo tonight. She had a family emergency. She really wanted to be here. So just send some love to her if you can. And then I didn't get my wonderful outline done this time, so it's going to be a bit maybe choppier than it's been the last couple times. I myself haven't been feeling too great the last couple days. My back has not been great to me, so sitting on the floor to do a live show. I'm medicated, so it'll be okay, but we can't go for 3 hours tonight.
The dedication.
No, but that's okay. Nothing will hold me back.
Very committed.
Hold me back. You wouldn't have read these books. That's right. You know it, girl.
I wouldn't have reread these books as soon as I have been wanting to, but I just haven't had the motivation. So
exactly.
I don't know that I would have read Third of Glass at all. It was such a long commitment. I was like,
yes,
right. Well, I mean, spreading it over a year, it's like, how many books do we read in a year? Like, we can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we can do it.
Absolutely.
Some people, they're only reading 5 books a month, and it's still like, we can do this. It'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this was a departure. We'll start off with our question we always ask though, because I feel like in a way too, I feel like the hesitancy I had in the past, maybe even like infected some people who wouldn't have had it. And I feel like that is a downside of like the veteran readers for us to be like, oh, I had such a hard time with this the first time. When like then people were, you know, like we had some people after reading Empire of Storms where I'm like, you gotta read Tower of Dawn, too bad. Whereas like for me it's more just like, I love rereading these, so I don't want to skip this book. But maybe that attitude kind of got to some people. So I'd love to know what some of our first time readers thought, because I mean, this was very alive and fun to me. And I love a story of mutual healing anyway. And I'm definitely a lot more into that as a romance reader than I was when I first read this. So this one really got to me to see, though this wasn't like, usually I'm reading mutual healing in like an erotic romance, and this isn't that, but there's still those same issues we're having to get through. There's like the anger in the beginning, and then like the ambivalence, and then like now we're getting into the painful stuff before we can. And literally Sarah does this in a metaphor, which of course we'll get into more, like as a representation in the story that like the healing isn't able to happen until we can exercise our demons. And in this case, literally. And Sarah's just the smartest ever. So for the record, this was one of my favorite books so far. I love the world building. I imagine something like Morocco.
It's a great setting. It's a really cool setting. Yeah.
That was one of my first. That's one of my first points on the thing, is that it was cool to go to this place.
Yes,
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was my first time reading it. I mean, I don't think it's my favorite in the series, but I felt like this one specifically, like I found a lot of like little connections, and I really liked that it was just like those 4 main people. As opposed to it being like 15. Like it was very nice to just have like, I felt like we really got a lot of time with those characters, whereas some of the other books in the series, I felt like we haven't gotten a lot of time to really flesh out the characters.
Right.
Whereas this one, like I felt like
around everywhere.
I felt like I was hanging out with Nesrin and Sartak on the, whatever they were called, the Rooks.
Yeah, the Rooks. Yep. Yeah. Nope, I totally agree with you. That was my comment too, is that, oh, wow, I forgot. This feels back like with Throne of Glass, where there was only like 3 perspectives in that book.
Yeah.
To only have to have a couple of them. Yeah, that's so true.
It's kind of like a nice reprieve in a way. Like so much is going on by Empire of Storms, and then we're reading this and we get to focus on Irene and Kale, and then Nesrin and Sartak, and then obviously so much more. But it's like, it's kind of nice to have these 2 central plots going on, and it does feel like a little vacation from the rest of the series.
You're right. She did slow it down, and it gave us an opportunity to really get to know Kale, because I think Kale was really misunderstood previously. And then when you see him here, you really see him in a different light, in a different perspective, and a really complex character that had to make some real hard choices, you know?
Absolutely.
I also think this was a little easier to come into because we didn't go from Empire of Storms right to this book. Like we read, Wings and Ruin in between. So it's not the same as like right after seeing Aelin go in the box, you have to switch to this. Like we had other dramatic stuff happening first, and then, the happily ever after happening there. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
You get back though, because that's the thing. He doesn't know what's happened with that. Like that's
I know.
You don't know what's going on, and that is kind of the thing too of like, oh my gosh. I'm aware, especially near the end of this and all the like secrets that we find out, you're very like aware of whose hands like Aelin is in right now, and you're just like, oh my god, I need her to be okay.
Yeah.
Let me read this. I enjoyed myself more than I expected. Kale is officially out of my dislike column. Oh my God. He's still not my fave, but I appreciate him a lot more, and I loved Irene. Yes. So much.
For sure.
Love it so much. I got into the book quicker than the previous ones. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, I love the audios so much. So I was in it like right away. I did the first half of it in one night and the second half the next day. I loved it. But I did have to think of it as a bit of a separate from the other books. Otherwise, waiting to know. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Totally fair.
Yeah.
Adora. I'm a first-time reader, and I really enjoyed it. After the ending of Empire Storms, I was really worried about Aelin, so sort of break before seeing what happens was sort of nice. That's true, man. That's true. 700 pages. Yep. I'm gonna, okay, first-time reader. I've enjoyed reading the series. Thanks for recommending it. Of course. I am gonna, like, comment on this, and it's my favorite story to tell, so I'm gonna tell it before we get going. These guys have, like, already heard me say it, but this was the only book I was actually able to go to a signing for. Sorry, my fingers.
Oh, cool.
Because she came to Minnesota. She came to Minneapolis, which is a 4-hour drive for me. So, and I have family in Minneapolis, so I was able to do it. Yeah. At that time, she had like severe her carpal tunnel was really bad. So you actually only got her to personalize your book if you won like a ticket. Like, so you got a signed book that you bought when you get there, and then only 50 people got to like go up. And it was like kind of sad because there was this girl here with her mom right next to me, and like her ticket got pulled, but mine did not. So I was kind of sad because we were talking together the whole time, and then she got to go up there. But anyway, so I went to that. The reason why I think the first time I read this that it was so good, and why this 700 pages happened, let me get to the point. Sorry, focus. Is that Sarah based this character of Irene on her grandmother. No one's looked up this story. You can hear from her own words if you just look up Tower of Dawn tour. Like, you can find videos that have her telling this story. And her grandmother is a Holocaust survivor and actually had to go on a long journey to safety. And like that is a huge, that's a huge part of her family, like legacy and everything. And so when she thought of the character of Irene, there are certain parts of her like backstory, like that story of her having to like go over the mountains and, dealing with different unsavory people along the way, and then finally finding a safe place to be. That is based on her grandmother's story. And so she actually, like, again, at the tour will tell you like the whole story of what her grandmother went through. And it is like, there should be a movie about it. It's crazy. And so for me going into this and now like knowing why Irene is such a badass, because she's based off of Sarah's grandmother, it just gave me like a warm fuzzy like hug for the book. And I think it just comes through in how, like, I mean, Sarah writes all of her females so badass, like they just are. And like in her interview with Sarah McLean, she even said, she's like, I struggle to give the men stuff to do because I just want girls to be awesome. And sometimes that annoys me in books when authors just say that, because I'm like, okay. But then other times I'm like, no, but I mean, the guys are awesome too, but these ladies, they're pretty great. I'm okay with it sometimes. Yeah. And Irene has definitely worked for me because she's not physically strong. Mm-hmm. She has her strengths and she knows where they are, but she still is in a pretty precarious-ish place in this court, because it's a bit of a viper's nest, that's for sure. Like they're smiley and fun, but they also might kill you. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. But anyway. Yes.
Sarah Vermaas does a good job at writing her female characters. She writes really strong characters, obviously, like Aelin, but she also writes other characters that have an internal subtle strength, like or like Irene. They both are not physically strong externally, but they have a will of steel that makes them very powerful, and a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, but like I said, with this one, I don't have like the timeline beat for beat, so let's kind of just start with characters and see where it like pulls us into with everything, and we can kind of talk about their whole arc. So I'm just going to start with Nesrin, because I feel like she's someone we didn't know super well going into this one. We haven't had really too many perspectives of hers. I think maybe only one or two. Did we even have that many?
Queen of Shadows, there really wasn't much.
Yeah, and that's like the only one we're really seeing.
That's the only book to base it off of.
So, yeah. What do we think of her and her arc in this?
Well, upon reread as well, I found myself being much more interested in her storyline. Whereas the first time I read this, I was like, can we just go back to Kale and Irene? Yeah. Like, I was kind of like at the beginning of her story arc. Like when she's going to visit her family and stuff, I was like, I don't really care about this. But upon reread, I found that I was much more invested from the get-go.
She's like the only character that has their whole family too.
Yeah.
She has a lot to lose.
Yeah.
That's like, who else has their entire family in this?
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
Oh.
Very true.
Melissa?
I liked her. I mean, like Rachel said, like at the beginning, I was kind of like, hey, I just want to know, because I knew Kale and Irene ended up together, and I was like, I just want to get to this. Like, I want to see them fall in love and all that stuff, because clearly they did not like each other at the beginning. But but then when once she separated from Kale, like completely, and like went off and did, went with Sartak.
Yep.
Once they went, like, I got more invested in her story, because I was like, okay, I'm interested to see, like, is she going to become
You find out some cool shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, especially like as we got on, and they were going to those towers, like I was like really paying attention to those scenes. I was like, okay, I feel like there's going to be some really important stuff here. So I was really paying attention, but I was like, is she going to become one of those writers? Like, and I was really interested in that. And then on top of it, of course, her falling.
Yeah, I love the back of my book.
Oh, that is so cool.
I told you, Rachel, you have to buy these ones.
I know.
They're the best.
Restock. I'm going for it.
They're the best one. Anyway, sorry, but
it's beautiful.
Yeah. I love her family. They're so cute. But I totally agree with you, Melissa. Like when I found out that Irene was the heroine of this one, so I'm like, great. Kale wasn't with Aelin and wasn't with this lady. Like, how am I gonna like this person? Like, Sarah, you can't trust a couple. Like, it makes me nervous. For people are all speculating if she'll do that in others. I'm like, she doesn't always, but sometimes, she does do that a lot.
But for me, that's what makes it exciting, because I feel like nothing is a sure bet. So when I'm waiting for the next books to come in, I'm like, I don't know that it's going to go in this direction. So I'm kind of on
that. For me, a romance reader, though, like if I could separate and be just a fantasy reader, then I'd be like that. But now I'm like, I get attached to people. But
yeah.
So very interesting. Yeah, you can't trust Sarah. I mean, I try, man. Like. It makes me nervous about it. But so Nesrin, she's pretty cool. And then let's start, like, I'm going to go to this first since Sartak is a part of that. But like, okay, how about this twisted, weird kingdom that they have? Like,
well, in some ways, they're like more advanced and better than Otterlon ever was. Some of the ways that they run their kingdom and the way that they pretty much kind of respect everyone and no matter what religion they are.
They're very like dangerous to themselves, though. That's kind of the problem. They have a great kingdom, and I think all of their strife is kind of focused on each other. But this thought of that, like the siblings, whoever becomes the Kagan, literally sterilize all of their families, like partners, so they can never like come against them at all. Like, oh my gosh. That's terrifying to me. That's like, I would never even try to love anyone until I was sure that I was the head.
Well, and that's brought up a lot throughout the book. Yeah, absolutely.
It is like, it's such an interesting idea though. And I feel like I can see where Sarah's like thought bunny for that came from. Cause it's like, what would be a way to not have like backstabbing happen? Well, what if whoever becomes the leader, their siblings can't have babies? But why? Yeah, like, so Irene wouldn't be able to have any kids, which is what she wants so bad. So it's like, yeah. But anyway,
it's a really interesting kingdom for sure. That was really cool to learn about, like the political intrigue and things about even the origin of the Southern continent and how like that first Kagan like took over all of the, kind of little clans throughout and unified the country. I thought that was like really interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that they're behind the scenes. I like when they first got there, they were like, we know exactly what's going on. And we know we actually know more than you do, Kale, because you've been on it. Don't think that we don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was interesting. Like, they're keeping tabs regardless, even though they're removed, It
very much made me think too, like, because it's interesting. Because at first when you hear it, you're kind of like, well, is someone we know a spy?
Right.
But then they don't know that Aylin's not starting the fires. So I'm like, okay, well, it's not one of our people then. I mean, unless they'd be lying about it, but I don't think, like that. Initially, that's what I thought when they're like, we know everything and you're trying to drag us into something, we don't want to be a part of this. I was like, whoa, is this someone that we trust who's like feeding information back? I don't know. That popped in my head, but
it's true.
By the end, but.
It is. Yeah. And this kind of like intrigue, you never know. It could always be something like that. So it's a valid sort of like, oh, eye raise,
Right. Well, because I don't think any of them are like bad. They're just looking out for their kingdom. So even if one of our people was a spy, like I wouldn't have assumed that they were bad or anything. I just would have been like, they're not telling them everything.
Right.
So it was like, what if it was Nesrin? I'm glad they didn't make her be bad or anything. I like Nesrin, but
right.
Me and Amanda, like I just finished it the other day, but I was doing some things while I was listening to the audiobook, so who knows what stuff I'll forget. So you're right. Yes. So that was the next thing then is like what they're dealing with right now is pretty scary and definitely gets creepy the further that we look into this. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So they just had a sibling die, and how did that sibling die?
Really got pushed off of a balcony, I think.
But they thought she jumped, right?
There was no reason to believe otherwise, even though that would be unexpected from her. But yeah, who was I think Sartok from the beginning was suspicious, and I want to say maybe Caution was too.
Yeah,
but
she seemed excited about her child, so like they wouldn't think she would have. Because wasn't she pregnant, or is it the other person?
Duva was pregnant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think that Tumaloon was. Isn't she the youngest, Tumaloon?
She's the youngest.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I messed them up.
No, it's okay.
She also is in a bad position.
But it was Duvon, or how do you say her name? It was her that was pregnant. Correct?
Duva was pregnant. There's too many kids. I apologize because I think there's
6
or 5 or 6. There were 6.
Yeah.
3 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah. See, there's too much.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in that family.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Their spy network was scary, and it's
that was really cool though. Like those like goop moments where Kale would be saying something, and then it was usually Hassar or somebody or Argoon who was like, but we heard this, and he's like, oh.
Can't lie about anything. Well, and of course, whenever they like bring up that, like they even knew that he had probably slept with or whatever she was before. I don't like saying he slept with Aelin because it feels weird. It's Elena.
Yeah.
Aelin belongs to Rowan, nobody else.
Where's that attachment Jen had? She's like, don't be messing with my parties here.
Well, I can proudly say to everyone that they're married. It's a thing now. We're sure with this, okay?
Yeah.
That couple is
You're sound.
They're done.
But my running guess was that she jumped. Yeah, that
was my first guess too. That there was something. Yeah, I thought
put the power back. Yeah,
I absolutely thought that as well.
Yeah, if she had maybe a little bit of like Kaltane, like if she had magic at all and was able to fight.
Yeah,
but not enough to tell someone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
See, I thought it was the mom because she was so absent throughout the whole thing, and I felt like she was like hiding from them. Like she didn't want them to discover who she was.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, I should continue along in here. Okay, let's talk about, I have 3 different ones of these for about the healers. So let's kind of talk about the healers and then, let's kind of start with that. Like who the healers are and then kind of like Irene's prejudice that she has. And like why she gets assigned to do this and everything. So, because Irene definitely isn't too excited when Kale's the one she's supposed to help. And
it is very apparent when she walks in the room to do the assessment of him. She was like, you use your manhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's me every time.
Just going right at it, like trying to embarrass him.
Totally.
Not very gentle. But like, again, making the comparisons without saying the words that I don't want to say. If this person is based off of Sarah's grandmother, we can maybe infer like who Kale is supposed to fit into that allegory and why that would be a problem for someone. And, you know, it's not like there's a Hippocratic oath that exists here. There's just kind of that like healers do good and he's the one who needs it. So you're going to do it. It's just that innate thing that comes with being a healer.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're from a place where it's like an oath you take or if it's just, you know.
And I like with the older healer, her mentor, I don't remember her name, what she said. What was it?
Hafiza
says to her, she's like, are you going to step over the men on the battlefield and just leave them to be unattended? Like when you took on this, you take on all of it, whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you know?
He's dropping facts.
It
truly is. Yeah.
Well, and, you know, it's even going back to like times when we were annoyed with Kale, but like, it is like a job and a duty that he swore. He doesn't know that his king the whole time is invaded. Like he's just trying to do his job. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He was given a home and a place, like when he was, you know, kicked out by his dad. Like once he knows different, he does different. He would be a different man if he didn't, you know, but in the beginning when he's a rule follower, when he's good, he's good because he's trying to do his job and do right by it. You know, and when more information comes to light, he does change his, and that's kind of what, you know,
he just needs the information. Yeah.
Right. But when we're on Irene's point of view, she just knows like you worked for a king who like did all these horrible things.
Sure.
And I mean, obviously he did know there was some horrible things happening, just not how and why and everything.
But I bet you, if you think about Kale's constitution and his personality, I bet you he thinks it's not my job to question my leaders and their choices. Yeah. Like I could morally say that this is wrong, but that's not my job. So I have to just follow orders because I'm duty bound to do that. You know?
Yeah, definitely to a certain aspect. I found it heartwarming after the fact that they really saw each other at their worst and worked past it. Yes, they definitely have some arouse, as you would say, like. Because, I mean, Kale isn't just going to, like, beg at someone's feet and be like, I'm so sorry, please help me. He's kind of like, oh, great, guess I'm not going to get healed. This person hates me, so that's great. Cool.
And, like, this is Kale truly at his rock bottom. This is, like, his Heir of Fire journey.
Yeah.
So they absolutely see the worst in each other, and then they see the best in each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that.
But in general, with the Torre healers, I just wanted to bring up the fact that the Torre Chesme is totally like the House of Wind. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, that library and like multiple levels and the way that you're just going down. Like, it's
so this is literally like, I want to bring this up because I feel like we talked about this already. Like in every land, there is a library, even within an own world, like even within the same, like Throne of Glass world, like there's library. And then in, you know, like Akatar, there's a library. In Crescent City, there's a library. And there's always trouble happening in the library. Like literally there's danger in the books. There's possessed books. There's stuff people want. Like always shit goes down. And the vibes too. Like the beasts that attack in Wings of Ruin that get sent by the king, like they attack in the library, and the library also being a place of sanctuary for people to a certain point, like
whether it be the healers or the priestesses. In the two.
Like I really love that part of like when she heals that girl who's been like beaten by her dad, and she's like, we can take you there and you can go home if you want, you can go there and he'll never be allowed inside. Like you literally never have to see him at all. If you show up there, you're healed. Or you're safe there. And I'm just like, I love that stuff so much.
Yeah.
I wish that's what we had.
The bath cavern.
Yeah.
That is such a cool setting. It's like such a vivid setting to me.
Yeah. I wish that's how safe houses worked for domestic violence survivors here. Like
Right.
If you went there, they can't ever get you.
Yeah.
Ever get
you. No matter what.
Oh my God, I just love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
The hidden bath area of the towers. Yes.
It's such a cool setting.
Mm-hmm.
With like her bells and stuff. That was so cool.
I really enjoyed that Kale had the time to process his guilt and all the horrible things that happened and heal from it. Yes. Yeah, let's talk about, let's just go with that before we get into like how like the healing is working and like what they have to go through for this. Because I really love a mutual healing, and I really love that not only, of course, is Kale having to face it as we go it, but for her to be able to heal, she has to face different parts of herself and those things as well. Like, I just thought it's so well done, so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's such a terrifying injury when it's not just like his body. Like he basically has like possession as an injury. Like, it's not affecting his mind or his like, well, I mean, it is affecting his body because it's stopping him from walking and it's causing him pain. But it's so interesting when you look at it that way. It's like he's literally like, in a certain extent, he's possessed too because it's latched onto him and she has to find a way to free it. It's a very interesting process.
Yeah.
Plus his like whole PTSD from everything that happened. So because he has to, when ultimately everything happens at the end, he has to realize like this isn't who I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it isn't all his fault.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of aspects of it that aren't, and then there are the things that are in his control. And I think it also reaffirms that he is working with the right people. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Well, he was always doing it for duty, and because he lost his whole family so that he could do this. And then you find out that the king was possessed the entire time, and you find out all these different things. And so then he lost his leg, so doesn't know if he can do this job at all. Mm-hmm. And then to go through that healing process and realize that you are still on the right side, and like now you can go back with that knowledge and like really help. Like, I don't know, that was really great for me because he goes from doing stuff for duty and love. I mean, he loves Dorian, but he's doing this for like duty to like he's doing it because it's right by the end.
Yeah, and in the midst of like figuring out how to maneuver in this new body, like how to like maneuver himself and get around, and like one of the most poignant sort of points for me in that transition of his thought process is when Irene allows her sort of nursing students, if you will, right?
Oh yeah.
To get him off of the horse, and how he expresses like, you just let them handle me, like, and how demoralizing that was.
Yeah.
And how he was like really humiliated. And I love, he said, I'm fine with that. I'm half naked in this room with you, like, for 16 hours a day, but that's you and me. But then when you put me and subject me to this other thing, I'm not even in control of my own body. And that's when my like whole thought process changed for Kale. And I was like, yeah,
absolutely.
A whole different life because he's going through it. Like you said, it's air fire, That
was a super emotional scene.
That is a powerful scene. Yeah.
I definitely teared up because he's such a proud man.
Yes.
And a strong man. And honestly, he's just been given a way to ride. So he's like, wow, I have some like bodily autonomy again. Like I can move through this horse. And then to be like literally dropped on the ground from that. Yeah. I mean, it's good for him, but it also was like Irene, she doesn't dislike him the same amount by the time we're at that point, but she also just was like, well, it's a teaching place. We have to help. And it's like, but you could have clued him into what that was.
You could have talked to him before. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love how the, the Hafesa, again, how we pronounce that.
Hafiza.
How she then was like, she didn't realize what she was doing. She's eager to help them. And so it helps calm him down, but it's still, and then she has to tell Irene, like, that wasn't a very gentle thing to do. Like, we know what you were doing, but he has his pride. Like, you should have asked.
Yeah.
Like, explain to him how he's helping them. So it's him doing something for them instead of like, he's like, literally, you put a bunch of little girls to draw me on the ground.
Yeah.
make me feel this big.
Yeah, and that's something, and we'll talk about it later, but I sort of, I'm not going to say have trouble with Irene's personality, but we see come up later that she's so invested in helping others at the expense of everyone else around her. Yes. And I almost am like, I feel very like upset at her because I'm like, well, what about the people that love you? What about the people that are closest to you? You're going to risk them to do this. And like, but it's not even a thought for her. Like she has to do it because it's like, so, I guess she looks at it like I've been given this gift of magic and my magic is that of healing. And therefore I am required, to whom given much is required, I have to pay it forward without question. And I struggle. I don't know.
Doesn't that sound like another nurse we know who causes problems all the time? Literally exact same thing.
Yeah, she's like recklessly selfless.
Yes.
She absolutely, and I could see myself being the same way if I had some kind of power like that I would just give because it, that's what I have. But, think about what she endures, especially when trying to heal Kale.
Yes.
She doesn't even care. She doesn't even realize it, but she is harming herself when she's going in there and like beating against that wall.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the age old thing with any kind of healer. Doctors today do the same thing, like burn themselves out. Like if you give all of yourself to everyone, then you aren't there to help the next person.
Yeah.
That's what you need. So
absolutely.
It starts the comment for. Here we go. And it was beautiful how Kale came to accept the wheelchair and cane and having to rely on them.
Yes.
Mobility aids are wonderful.
That was a really beautiful moment.
And how important his physical strength and abilities clearly were for him. The acceptance was so powerful. Yes. I also I think it was done so well, by the way. I'll say that first. But something that I really love, I love when there is disabilities in any book, but I also do love the story of a rehab of an injury too, because that happens a lot. And I think it's important to show that like there doesn't have to be shame in the time of healing either. I feel like I love to see books where a long-term, you will have your whole life disability is shown, but then also a part-time one, and how that's still like, it's not wrong for him to feel like he lost something, but it's also good to start like, okay, but if you wouldn't rail against it so hard, you can start that healing process. But if you do everything you're supposed to do, you can do it right, instead of trying to jump around. And so I loved that though her healing powers are magical, it wasn't an instant fix for him. And we see that both with the person who like lost his arm and now has the fake arm, or the prosthetic. Like, there are all different steps to that, and they're all good. They're all important, and nobody needs to feel defective or wrong at any point of that. But yeah, I really love that though she literally has magical healing abilities, it isn't magic that he like as an instant.
Right. Yeah.
It still is a process. And I think that's important. And then Stacey, I definitely agree with this. This scene really helped me connect with him. I particularly, again, the first time I read this, to see him like be forced to be vulnerable, but then for him to speak it too.
Yes.
He wasn't going to tell her. And this is where her being a bullheaded, like, not let go, where she's like, okay, let's do this. All right. Okay. Like, no, you're going to tell me what's wrong. Like I like that she doesn't let it go. Yeah. And then he does that to her later too. And I'm proud of him for doing that, because she doesn't want to tell him something. And he's like, you can't leave until you tell me what's going on. Yeah. I love that stuff. So the rehab process and it being both physical and mental is very good. It was. I love that she did a great job with that, because I feel like that would have been an area that people really could have jumped on and said, do this. And I mean, I'm sure there still are, but with this book, I never hear people rag on that.
No.
None that I've ever heard. No. And I think that could have very easily happened if it was shown to be too easy, or it was shown to be like he hated it so much. So I'm glad that they,
Well, and speaking of that, I think that she just paced his journey so well.
Yes.
in this book. It never felt too slow and it never felt too fast when there would be these moments where then he could wiggle his toes. And then, you know, sometime later he could move his feet. And then, you know, maybe there's setbacks along the way with different scenes and things like that. But it wasn't perfectly up. Like he used his muscles too much the next day. He cramped up and like couldn't move. Or when his back spasmed again. Yeah. She's like, no, you are undoing everything I did. Like, it totally happens.
Took a hot bath instead of
ice.
Whatever he did that he was supposed to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. So good. Okay. I love it. We'll move on to more story parts now, but I think it's done so well, and I just really appreciated coming back to it. And that would just be so hard. It's hard for anyone. And he was at peak physical health. Like, oh yeah, that's what I meant. I even love too that they pointed out that you have to keep the rest of your body fit as well. That we're not just working on your legs down.
Yes.
Because what happens when you're like, you know, your back still has to be strong and stuff for you to be able to do that, you know. It's very important. Very important. When he does his angry sit-ups, that's the scene where he won't say what's going on.
Oh yeah.
He does all his angry sit-ups, and I could just so good.
Envision that, right? Like so clearly.
Yes.
It's like, well, since you're feeling okay, you can do your other exercise. And he's like, fine, hold my legs. And he's I was like, I can just picture this man.
Like steam coming out of the nostrils, just so mad. Like,
And I like, again, I think it's a good point to point. Like, he has a right to be pissed. Like, he had a right to be pissed because she didn't ask consent for all these, like, for all that to be happening to him.
Yeah.
So he should tell her how she messed up, but it's also good that, he was like, you did this, and I was embarrassed. But anyway, that's what his fee is. Sorry, that's what his fee is. Like, it's free, but it's a teaching hospital. Like, you get a discount rate, but you have to help.
This is how you pay it forward.
Right.
Oh, and I love those scenes when he does help to train the healers. I love those scenes.
Yeah.
I like at the beginning, especially, he's like, well, did, you know, Irene teach you this? And they're like, yep.
Yes. You bet she taught her girls how to protect themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
So good. Okay. Where to move through yet? Okay. I didn't make a card for this one, but I want to mention again maybe some of the machinations that are happening before we skip to, because then I'm going to move to the second half of the book so we can go through that. But like the parties happening and the weird maneuverings of everybody, and like, were you feeling suspicious of certain siblings, or like what were people kind of feeling in the first half? Particularly are people watching who it's your first time. Like, it is an interesting thing because they, like, you know, we know that this death happened, but it's not necessarily like looked into as like a mystery that we're trying to solve. But was that something on your mind? Like, what were people thinking about everything going on?
Hassar was shady as hell. I was like, this girl is, like, for a while I thought she had the valg in her. I was like, this bitch is shady. Like,
she is shady.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah. I was like, there's something not right about her. Like, like, what is going on? And
also her weird possessiveness too.
Yeah,
I know.
It's strange.
She's an odd character. And you know what? She almost gave me a little bit of Nesta vibes.
I don't think Nesta would be so sneaky is the only
No, but like there's something about her personality and the possessiveness and the protectiveness maybe. Like there was something, a vibe. There was just a vibe that I got.
Yeah, she was like, I'm gonna keep you here, and Irene's like, but I want to leave.
Oh yeah, the blackmail.
Yeah,
I was like, what is going on here? Like,
well, and Irene is just so kind of like used to it because it's so strange because technically, like, she should be safe with the Torre, like, but yet she feels like obligated to them. So she lets herself be pulled because it's like she doesn't owe them anything. right? Like
she feels like because they're royals,
right?
She has to like go along with, especially Hussar, like being her friend, and like I think she does feel some kind of sense of obligation,
right?
And again, it's like she like almost doesn't see the value in herself because she's so like obligated to these other people, and she's just like, I'll be your friend, I'll do whatever you want. I don't know, like,
and she doesn't even seem like opposed to Caution, except for the fact that she doesn't want to be married to him if she has to give up kids.
Right.
But she doesn't she's not in love with him either, but she almost is like, I don't know, the way she talks about it in her head, like she almost would marry him if
I know
she would know she'd get to have kids. Like that
was a weird dynamic too.
Like in her head, that seems to be the only thing keeping her from really letting stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't feel like they would work at all.
I agree. Yeah.
He like, I don't know. I don't think Caution was a bad dude.
Oh no.
I mean, he liked her and it wasn't going to work out. But also, I don't think he has the same like care of the people. Like that's really what you would need. You know, like would she still be able to be a healer like she is if she was a Coggan's wife, or if she was that like, oh, okay, girls, what the fuck? Now is not the time.
I thought that had stopped after we changed our settings on the live.
I know. I mean, some of them still become like your followers, though. Like some of those bots know to do that.
Okay, gotcha.
Because they can comment after a certain amount of minutes.
After they're subscribed. Yeah.
And I accidentally didn't. I wonder if I can do it on here. I accidentally just. There we go. I had to go to the other page. There we go. Okay. Otherwise, they'll be back in 5 minutes because I accidentally hit.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay. This. But she was also doing her best to protect her family. So we're talking about.
Again, that's a Nesta vibe. The protectiveness.
Yeah. The toxicity of having to be on edge against the machinations of her siblings. Yeah. Well, and then like because her blackmail to have her get info from Kale, and then like him giving her fake stuff. I love that whole scenario.
Oh my god, that was so
because like funny. Kale can tell. Well, she gives him a hint because she's like, I couldn't lie about it. But then also he's like, that's when they have their first like touching time. That's not healing touches. When they are like flirting with each other for fake flirting, right? That's good stuff. But yeah, and I mean, this is true. Like she doesn't know Hussar doesn't know whether to trust Kale or not. It's the way she like misuses Irene. That's the issue. Like,
that's what I didn't love.
Yeah, like I don't have a problem with them not wanting to be drawn into the war happening over there. And like I don't have a problem.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird too because there was moments where Irene was in her inner monologue. She was like, Hussar's mentioned giving me some nice clothing, but then she like never follows through. It's things like that where it's like clearly she doesn't like really care about you all that much. Like I don't know. Like it's just a weird vibe. Yet she was willing to throw that party at the Oasis for her birthday. Like
I literally think it's like when she's home and bored. Yeah. She remembers Irene exists and she can make her dance for her.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Like a puppet.
Yes, like she gets manipulated by her family. I can manipulate Irene, and I can watch my brother be uncomfortable because he's in love with her. And like she likes playing with people.
She does.
I got that vibe when she walked into the room when they were doing the assessment on Kale. Like you could see, like right in the beginning, that she's like, oh, she's going to be dangling carrots and kind of ruffling feathers just for the fun of it. Or
that's her entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not the bestest.
She's just an odd character.
How about I don't really have much else about the other family members though. Or what did we think of the Coggan though? Like we talked about some of the family, but what did you think of him as like a leader?
I understood his like obviously not wanting to get into the war, and at the same time, he was also dealing with the death of a child. So like he, as much as he's the leader of the land, he still has to deal with that personally. And I felt like Kale was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and he was like about to snap at the guy. Like, I mean, he did kind of, but I understood in ways like his hesitance to it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a very difficult game for Kale to play because they were mourning the loss of Tourmaline right as he came in, and he's like, "Oh shit! But I still need to ask these people for aid. What am I going to do?"
Yeah,
like that was a very, very interesting kind of cat and mouse game.
And he's not a diplomat. He's a smasher.
He's a warrior. He's
you know, and now he's stuck in a chair and is like, "You're supposed to be suave," and he's like, "I'm not Dorian or even Aelin. Like this.
I'm not." Yeah, exactly. Aelin can raise armies from all these lands, and Kale's like, "I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not cut out for this."
Yeah, and I think Ezrin is even the one that brings up, like, we don't know the customs, and we've trampled on, like, so many of, like, 10 things should have been done by this point, and we've already trampled over all of that, and now we gotta, like, backtrack and fix it.
And he's also not, like, charming enough to sweep stuff under the rug for, where that's where, like, Aelin could do that stuff and then be charming, and people are like, whatever, whereas, like, Dorian, like, knows all the rules and everything. It's like,
even Rowan could do, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Rowan knows the game.
Turn it on when he
mean, yeah, also he's, like, super, super old, so he can do whatever the fuck they want. He also could, like, squeeze looking like a grape, and so there's that part of it. Because but anyway, what I was gonna say is I like the Coggin. It's true, we don't get to see a ton of him. He definitely is the most put together of the leaders. You know, he's not possessed by Valg. He's not the Valg queen, whatever.
He's pretty neutral. He's a pretty neutral presence.
Exactly. He's very much a, like, we're staying out of it. This land is the Switzerland. They're over there. They have their wealth. They have everything they need. They don't need to rely on other places. But he's also very well connected.
Sure.
And it's just a bad time. It's a bad time to need aid.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, she's talking about
Scar.
Yeah. It's a cat and mouse game. Yes, I think she likes to play with her, and Irene's just like, I just want to heal people. I don't need this, but you like me, so I don't know what to do. Okay, now we will move along. So there's so now we get to part 2. So where did I put that question? Where is it? Let's like jump to this. So that's like the beginning of part 2, I think. So we have like the trip happening, and there's a lot of stuff we find out on this trip. So.
Oh, yeah. But I love that we have this opportunity where Sartok can kind of sweep Nesrin away on an adventure, and, like, obviously shit goes down, but there's also parts where, like, she's bonding with his family, like, with, like, all the people that are in the Rukin caves and stuff, and, like, it's such a cool, again, that's a really cool setting as well, like, in the mountains, and, like, these, like, huge birds that they ride, and, like, it's just, I don't know, that's just a really cool part of the story.
Yeah,
I really liked Bort.
Oh, Borte? Yeah.
His hearth sister or whatever it was.
Yes.
He was just like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, she's sassy.
Where?
So true.
You cannot tell me no. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Such a cool group of people too. Like, these are just like warriors.
Like, they're warriors, right?
Yeah.
Let me see what the map, because we have an extended map in this one, don't we?
It's just the southern continent.
Totally different map.
Yeah. That's my first go-to now is the map. I'm like, let me see how the heck this connects to everything else, you know?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Because they fly to.
They go to the something.
The Tavan Mountains.
The Tavan Mountains, and then the Doggle Fells are where the Karen Kui are. But yeah, they're in the Tavan Mountains.
Okay.
That's super cool. Oh yeah,
they're a really cool area of the map.
Yeah,
all those mountains and like the
rugged terrain, you know.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting.
So cool.
No problem with reading it on the Kindle.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't flip back to
No.
Right.
And I often find myself doing that. Like I'll be over here and go, wait, where is that on the map? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm always doing that. Yeah, I'm always flipping back to the map.
Aha! I found it on Google.
Yeah, you found
It's a really, really cool map. Yeah.
Here we go. I enjoyed it so much. How you see both of them with his people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad she followed. Yes. So that is the thing that I love. I love that there doesn't have to be like a complete discussion about this. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know there is the night, like there's the night where she like sleeps on his bed with him so that they can talk. And then of course Irene like jumps to conclusions, which is totally fair. He was in his bed and she's right there by him. And there's a couple. But still, like, I do like, even though I want it to be done with when it's happening, I do like that Kale doesn't just say, like, oh, we're broken up now, until he gets the second letter from her. And then he's like, we're done. Like, we're done now.
Yeah. And I love that it was Nesrin taking it into her own hands. And she's like, hey, I'm not holding you to any promises, and I'm doing the same. So bye. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
And they both knew that it wasn't working. Their relationship wasn't working.
No.
It was just scratching it.
Well,
That's
when he doesn't even want to kiss her. Like he says, he kissed her and there was nothing. And like, even so, like, stuff with Irene isn't really heating up yet. They're not doing anything inappropriate at all, but it just is clear to both of them. And she's like, I'm feeling something for this dude and his bird. So we're going to move along.
And I love that she did give Nesrin this swoony romance, because she could have gone the route of just like them breaking up and just Nesrin doing her own thing.
Yeah.
And just, like being kind of a neutral party or whatever. Yeah. But instead, like she gave this like really cool and epic storyline to her.
And and Nesrin is still totally our ally. Like this didn't cause a rift. It didn't cause a problem. In fact, it's even better because it's like divide and conquer, different. You know, like what he's doing, and like Sartak is definitely on their side. Like he's even in
previous books, like, you know, I never saw Nesrin and Kale as like a true item. Like I saw them like a placeholder, if that makes sense. Like between, like I'm going between relationship and this is just comfortable, and so I do it, but it's not like my long-term plan, you know.
Yeah, it was just there to scratch an itch.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, they didn't even scratch anything. Like literally, it was proximity. They thought they were maybe sweet on each other, but they don't ever even do anything. Like literally,
especially once he gets injured, he has no interest in like being with her in any way. Like,
yeah. I love the statement. Like when Sartak didn't have to be on guard about anything. That's so true.
I love Sartak.
He just gets to be his people. Yeah. He's so great.
I liked him from the beginning. I was like, I like this guy. Like I felt like he was on their side from the beginning. Like he was like, I'm ready to join this war. Like, let's do this. Like, I don't care what my family says. I got my own army with me.
Right. He doesn't even see himself as a prince. He's like, this is my crew up in the mountains. I'm doing my thing. Like this is what he wants. He doesn't want to be just a member of nobility in a palace doing nothing, you know.
And that would be a waste of his talents anyway. You know, he is to be doing that, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's good that he sees that in himself, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the scary things that happened on their trip. So during a conversation with one of the, like the grandmother, she talks about the Stygian. I think that's how the audio.
Stygian?
The Stygian.
Yeah, Stygian spiders. Yeah.
Which we already know are real because Manon's messed with them before.
Yeah, she messed with them.
Like, Manon's already had some
a run-in with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Selena in the first book?
Well, and that brings Falcon into the story as well, because he was the merchant from the novellas.
That's right.
Okay.
That made him deal
for
20 years of his life to get spider silk.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because that's the silk that Manon uses for her for Abraxas. One of them's from Throne of Glass and one's from something else.
Well, and then Selena gets some of the spider silk from him and uses it on Sam's suit.
Yeah.
In the novellas.
Oh, but that's in the novellas. I'm talking about Manon.
But then Manon makes her own deal. She steals it and uses it on Abraxas.
Yeah. When that's what they use to fix his like wing or tail or whatever.
Yeah.
So super smart. Oh, little bit comments a little behind. So happy they were adults about what it was. Yes.
Yeah, they were.
Yes. I love that their friendship could be intact. That's totally great. Because
and they're a great team. Nessa and Kale, you know.
Yes. Like they always like communicated very well.
Yes.
And I think that's why they slipped into a little more romantic at the time.
Yeah.
They did along so well.
It was convenient.
And they think alike, you know, and it's like, you like this person and it's like, okay. But then when people you are soulmates with show up, you're like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. And it becomes obvious. But anyway, love that. So yeah, the creepy ass spiders. And then the scary spider trap that was going to get the rooks. It was so terrifying. I was like,
oh my God.
I hate spiders. Okay. If it's not Catan, I don't want it. Okay. I can just go away. It's so gross. So nasty. Well, I have to qualify. I do love one specific spider, but not these kind. These kind of gross.
I know. And that scene just like gave me vibes of that spider scene in Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets. I'm like, these big ass spiders.
But this was when the first time when I was reading this book, it's so funny. I was on vacation with my parents while I was reading it. And I was in like my bedroom at the vacation rental and I was just like, oh my God. Oh yes. My God. I freaked so loud. Out. Yeah. And my dad was like, what's the matter? And I was like, I can't explain it to you, but just like my mind is blown.
That was insane. Absolutely insane.
So we will really find out some stuff from them. We find out about the, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff for then. I guess I can't skip over all of it. Okay, so after the spiders, Falcon is the wolf. He's a shapeshifter. So we meet another shapeshifter, which if you've read the novellas, he's in the novellas.
Yep.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a story where Selena meets him. He's a merchant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have to go back.
In the Red Desert. I think the Red Desert novella, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
So.
But Selena doesn't know he's a shifter, or she does?
She doesn't. No, she only knows him as a merchant.
Okay.
And he tells her about the Stygian spiders.
Okay.
That's
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. So then
we actually learn about him in whichever one Manon steals the spider silk from, because one of the spiders tells Manon about.
Yes.
Yes.
That is brought up then too.
Yes. Yep. And apparently other people knew who he was, but Sartok didn't, so he's mad about it. But now we see Hulin, and he tells them about the 3 word keys. And he starts to find out more of what Erewhon knows and what he has and everything. And now she really explains, like, this is why we needed your dad. Like, it isn't just as simple as us being in a war with this situation. Like, there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And it's good to see her, like, fully trust him now. Almost get eaten by some spiders and really trust each other. And then I'm just going to continue with their part of the story, and then we'll go back to Irene and
because there's a lot going on with
there's a lot of going back and forth, but I'm just going to keep going with them. So then let's see, singing songs, so much fun with it. They visit the watchtowers, and they're confronted by some dude. And they're searching for 3 hatchlings that went missing.
Yep. And the trap happens.
That's when the trap happens. Okay, I jumped ahead of that. Or earlier, I jumped ahead of that. Okay, because now we get... When do we get this? There's so many notes.
Yeah, so it's during the trap when everything's revealed.
Okay.
Everything's finally revealed.
Yes, I found it now. Okay, so They get trapped, and then the spiders reveal that they're waiting for the Queen of the Bog to arrive. And we're like, who's that? And it's like, it's Queen Maeve. And yet, she came to this place a long time ago, and she found these two sisters, and she brainwashed them into thinking that she was one of
the third. Yeah.
Which I made a note of it because I didn't think that at the time. But to me, that then like makes sense why there aren't really fae like from her line that show up. It's all the other two. It's the other two that the fae are like from.
She's brainwashed everybody, so nobody's blinking an eye. Nobody's thinking about this.
Nobody points out these things. So it says there was 3 dark kings who conquered their world a lifetime ago, and they fell in love with the dark queen, and so she married the oldest one, and then she found a way into Nezrin's world, and the spiders came with her and stayed here to guard the gate between the two worlds. Mm-hmm. So another reference to gates to other worlds and people being able to come through and decide they like a place to set up. And sometimes that's nice because it's someone like her name Amarin, and then sometimes it's this creepy bitch. So Orcus found a way to control these gates, and so he made 3 keys, 1 for each king, and they went from gate to gate, conquering realm after realm as they searched for her. Mm-hmm. And then meanwhile, May found the Fey land, which I said that she brainwashed the queens, and then when the kings arrived, they didn't recognize her body, but she defeated them and took their keys.
Yes.
She sent the first 2 back to their world. Before she could send Erewhon back, Brannon Galathinius arrived and took the keys from her. He wasn't sure what she was, but could sense the darkness in her. And Maeve greatly feared Brannon's fire, as all the foul do. And so Maeve built herself a kingdom with many powerful defenses in case Erewhon rose again. Okay, so then Falcon comes, sets them free, and oh my gosh, the spiders are so gross. I can't even read what it says. Anyway, okay, I did enough yakking, but just wanted to get through that because that was a lot of relevant.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. Oh my god, that moment where Sartok is like dying, and he's like, "I fell in love with you before I met you." Like what?
Oh,
such a good moment.
So good.
But Maeve is such an interesting villain to me. Like she's way more iconic than like Amarantha ever could have been.
Oh
yeah.
You know, like yeah.
She's a literal. I mean, even within it, like Amarantha, like just like to fuck with people.
Yeah.
But this is a whole nother level.
This is literally next level.
Yeah. Well, and she's the kind of evil that like she doesn't really have an end game. Like she wasn't the biggest, baddest shit where she was before, so she tries to find a different world where she is the baddest shit.
Yeah.
She can set herself up how she wants.
Yeah.
And just find little fae boys to fuck with and build this like group around her to be powerful. Go ahead.
I guess and maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but I'm trying to see how the blog connect because we talk about the 3 blog princes, right? And I'm assuming they're brothers.
They are,
right? They're brothers. So then how does Maeve fit in that? Is she like a sister to them, or is she just part of that world? And we're calling the blog is that they're the race of people from that world, and they're coming here to kind of wreak havoc on this kingdom.
From what I understand, one of the brothers, I think in particular, wanted her as his queen, and I think they were. Yes, was it Orcus?
Yeah,
I think?
Yeah, that's not just. They all 3 fell in love, but she married the oldest and most powerful, which is Orcus.
But then she left.
Fell in love with all 3 of them.
Well, they all fell in love with her.
She doesn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, she didn't love them.
So she left Orcus just as soon as she could.
Okay.
She used him to get his key to go through the world, basically.
Yeah, because that's what it's.
Find her own.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
But then who is Erewhon to her then? Because she's
Erewhon is the youngest of the three brothers.
Okay.
And he's the last one remaining. Remember, Maeve was able to like conquer the other two brothers.
I was just going to say that.
Back to where they came from. But before she could get rid of Erewhon, Brannon came in and meddled.
Right.
And took the keys from her. And like, so everything was.
Sent the first two back. Yeah. Good catch.
Okay.
Yeah. So he got away when he came into metal, is the point.
Yes, Erewhon got away. Erewhon essentially got away. Yeah.
And then she's afraid of him that he'll come back at some point.
Right.
But he's also evil too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems like it.
So is all the destruction he's putting upon the world just so he can get to her? Or does he also have a plan? Like, that's why I'm just like, I don't understand him.
Well, he just wants to conquer anything he can. And I think he's trying to find a way to get his brothers back to him as well. I think he's trying to find, that's probably why he wants to open up the gates again, so he can get to his brothers again. All three of them can rule over any world they want to. And at the time, so like, I don't think Erewhon knows yet that Maeve is who she really is, because when they had a confrontation, she was in this new body, and I don't think that he recognized her. So I think she's been getting away with this, like hiding herself from Erewhon.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
But the spiders know.
But the spiders know because they're her handmaidens.
There are some fan theories that say that Rhysand is one of the three princes.
Really?
I would need a lot more evidence for that.
Because of the darkness, like his shadows.
Right.
Which I guess that's more Asriel.
But also, like, he has
Asriel, yeah.
I don't know.
He has shadows too.
Stuff, so it's kind of like, I mean, that could be made up. It could be a deceit. It could be a thing, but
yeah,
it's an interesting connection. It's interesting, but yeah, I don't know about that.
I saw it on a Facebook group. I was just like,
fan theories for everything.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like we know where Rhys is from. Like, we know him, how he's so powerful. You know, it's that, how is any like chosen one as powerful or whatever? You know, it's that like, it just worked out perfect that they're the powerful. I don't know.
Yeah,
we know that Rhysand, this is not part of this conversation, but just to throw in, Rhysand's role is going to be expanded, because when what's her name falls through the worlds and winds up in Prythian, and she's speaking this ancient language, Rhysand is the only one that can kind of understand her and connect. So that tells me that there's going to be more to, more depth to who he is.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk of old language in this one, which I found.
Yeah, a language that even like Hafiza didn't even know. Like with those books, we'll get to that later, but with the books being in the iron cupboard and things. But yeah, there is a lot. And there's also a lot with like Fey weapons. Like when they go to one of the towers and they find these swords and they find the word marks and they find like these interesting breadcrumbs about how these healers were planted in the southern continent, essentially, through the years, through like 1,000 years, basically.
Sure.
So that was like a very interesting revelation to learn about as well.
And Rachel, I always thought from the beginning when we first started doing this read along that I wanted to, and I think Jen, we had talked about this previously as well, as like doing a log of all of like the ancient weapons and like the swords and the names of the swords and how it
Tiffany's doing it.
Is Tiffany doing it?
Like every time they show up, she legit has a spreadsheet. So hopefully at the end she'll share with us. But like she is, because
there was one in particular that I remember where it was like the sword was made of stars, or like I don't know. That was like a very interesting little tidbit there.
Yeah,
I highlighted that. One thing I find really interesting is the use of iron, because in Prythian, iron doesn't. They think it affects the Fae, but it doesn't. But in this one, it does affect them.
Right.
Iron. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Right. And they used the iron sarcophagi. They were using the iron sarcophagi to keep their Fae bodies safe from Valg that wanted to use them as vessels in the afterlife. After they passed on, that was.
Also like Aelin being tortured in one.
Yeah, true. That's true.
One. So, well, and it also could be like there could be things that I don't know if this is worded somewhere. You have to tell me if it is, but things that the Fae are dangerous to Fae, and so like the Valg who would maybe possess them, if they do, it doesn't really affect them, even though they've made up that lie that it does. Did that make sense how I worded that? Is it's like people will think they're using it against me, but really it's not. I don't know. There's so much because it still doesn't like. Yeah, there's so much. Okay, let's switch now over. We'll backtrack now to what Kale and Irene are dealing with, because basically after this thing, Nezrin and Sartak, they're hightailing it back, and we get to them meeting with them. So let's backtrack a little to now Kale. Let's see where we started. So his legs are getting a lot stronger now. We've had a healing where like he can now be using his legs. He needs to use the cane. He can't do it all the time, but it's really working. They've had some breakthroughs with that. So he starts like training with the soldiers, which is great. And then Captain Rolf, we hear about him.
Oh, yeah. Because there's that whole thing where Kale's like, oh, just tell him Skulls Bay. There's no way she'd go there. And so then that connects to the weapon that Rolf has been ordering from the southern continent. So it's, boosting their economy.
Fire lances. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they're making money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he goes to a meeting that he shouldn't have went to, but he gets some big balls. To be fair, this is a very Aelin thing that he does, and I'm very proud of him.
You're right.
No, he's not as smooth during the meeting as like Aelin would be, but I was like, the boys learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait. He does not have the suaveness, like we said. He is not he's not a negotiator. He's not this. He just goes in to like tell the truth, basically. And you can't always walk in and just tell the truth in a diplomatic way.
It's true.
You gotta like keep something back, but he is like trying to like double the order or something to as so that he can pay them, basically, because the king like won't accept payment to help, even though he brought all this money with, and he's like, well then let me double this order, and the king's just like, no, I'm still mourning and you need to get out of here. I'm gonna like kill you if you come back in next time or something. And it's like, dang it.
I know that did not go well.
Yeah. But then he kisses Irene and it gets really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great. Yeah. It's good times. Things
good
are really
times. Good times.
Like, I love it so much. Nice, good, push you up against the wall, make out session. I love it. Then we have the overnight trip to Axara.
Oh, the Oasis.
Yes.
Yep.
And everybody, it's basically an orgy that's happening. That's really fun.
Any excuse for a party. Hussar is going to take any excuse.
Yeah. And then he wonders if there is Fae in other parts of the world and not just in Terrasen, which, I mean, it'd be fair to think there might be. And then when we have this party, it must be Hussar who does this because she always is snarky, but like insinuates that Kale had been with Aelin before, and then he's like, yeah, but like Aelin's gonna marry Rowan and I would not get in the middle of that. Okay, I'm not gonna get in the middle of that. And of course he doesn't know that they like did, because he's missed everything. Like he doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. And then boss ass bitch move. Hussar is making snide comments about his chair, and she the table over.
Irene pushes her in.
Yeah, she puts the chair over him, and everyone laughs at her, which is great.
That's an amazing scene.
But I did also love that Hussar was like, finally, you shut me up. Like, you always let me say what I want. And I was like, see, you are a conniving lady.
Oh, yes.
I trust you. And she's just like, you finally have a background. Like, what else was I going to have to do?
Yeah.
She knew she had to push that button. She
had to pick on Kale, because picking on Irene wasn't going to do it.
Oh, that would never work. Yeah. Absolutely.
Irene would never do anything about it. Okay, so they head back ahead of everybody else, and someone has dug through their room. I forgot to mention this. She had scrolls with word marks on them. Totally forgot to mention that because I skipped it. And they had hidden them in his room, which the scene when she brings them to him and he's like, don't talk about it. And they're like hiding it around the room while talking about other stuff. I was like, dang, how scared are you of everybody that even alone in his room, he can't say anything? Like, it's so.
They're constantly being watched.
I was going to say
everywhere. Like,
you don't know who you can trust.
You don't. Yeah, you don't.
When they're in the Oasis, they go to that cave and they learn more about the Fae, and like how they got to this land, basically.
Right. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes this guide they don't tell me everything, but that was the one where I said where there might be Fae in a different. Different places.
Essentially both Nesrin and Sartok and Irene and Kale see evidence. They find ruins from different places.
Yeah. And they're trying to find someone who can like read the word marks.
Yes.
That's part of the trip. That was why she like set up the trip anyway. Because they needed a reason to go there. Yeah.
So just let me backtrack 1 second really quickly. So remember before all this takes place where Irene is in the library and she finds that book. And in the book, it's the picture of the word marks and she sees the possession happening with the boy or with the guy.
You did actually make a card. I said special books.
Yeah.
So thanks for reminding me. I made a card.
What did you say?
There's always special books. That's why I did that. As I was like literally in everything. There's like the book of breathings or the book of or like whatever.
This was the book of beginnings.
Yeah, the book of beginnings. That's what it was. That's what it was.
For the song of beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was that first guy that was being possessed in the song of beginnings that the story was being told about? Is that like I feel like I missed that.
They showed the three kings.
Yes.
They showed just a person on a table being cut into and possessed by a Zalg demon. They showed that process. Yeah.
Now the three kings are the three Vlog princes. That's Arwan.
Kings. Yeah.
Those kings. Okay. Yep. And then they have these lesser sort of demons, if you will, that they use to possess.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And then we have the iron rings, right? Those black rings that they use to control them with, like to be able to trap it into the body, if you will, or the collars or whatever, right?
Something with like a word stone. It's like
I was going to say it has a word mark or a word something on it.
A black glittering stone. Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. I put all this together here.
And there's a lot going on. So.
Couple comments here. The stuff was so interesting.
The healers.
Mm-hmm. Having to account for the spies being everywhere in Anchor and not knowing who they're reporting to. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was driving crazy. I mean, that's another reason Irene doesn't want to be she wants to be in her tower and just be safe because there's
just be healing people. She's like, I'm not cut out.
Mind her business.
If you have a broken arm, I'm here for it. You're back, you can't walk, I'm here. But otherwise, like, just keep me out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, because Kale then, because when they get back there, his room is trashed. But they found some of the scrolls, but they didn't find the ones in his boots. So that was a good place to put it. And then he asked her to go stay in the Torre so that she'll be safe there. He wants to make sure she's safe. Oh, and then Hafiza has a whole trunk full of wordmark books. Her predecessor told her they weren't for human eyes, but she didn't know what they were. Irene wants to take them with her to the person that Kale knows who can read them. So there wasn't just the couple she found. There's a whole trunk full of them.
That just tells me it's for Fae eyes. Mm-hmm. It must be in connection to the Fae.
Well, I mean, if they're not able to read them, then yes.
Yeah.
So
I feel like whenever there's a character like Yafiza or Baba Yellowlegs, I feel like we need to protect them because they have all this wealth of information that, gets lost. Happens to them.
Well, that's why, like, we need the magical prisons. Okay, that's why it's brilliant that Actor has one of those, and like everywhere needs one. Everywhere needs a magical prison where you can put these devious creatures who like we shouldn't kill them because they know everything, but also
put them up there with bone collector. They'll be all right.
Right. Well, and to be fair, like the Weaver, she only caused problems if you got into her home. Like she wasn't hurting.
If you started it, she's gonna finish it. Like
right. And the same with the creature in the bottom of the library.
Yes.
Like, she didn't hurt anyone unless you went down there. You know, like, they aren't hurting anyone. Which just goes to prove though that like they are not power hungry.
Yeah.
Like they come from other places probably too, and they found this place and they're like, oh, I want to be peaceful here. So they find their own little
they all found their little place.
Right. They find their place, and it's like, yeah, if a happy meal happens to come across my path, I'm gonna take it and build my creepy house made out of hair. But otherwise, I'm not going after people. And that's even with like the bone carver.
Yep.
He didn't like he was in the prison, but like he wasn't mad to be there. He felt protected.
Yeah, he was cool with it. Yeah.
And that's why he made sorry that I'm dragging us over here, but like that's why he made like Feyre do a task to prove she was worthy for him to help. Because otherwise whatever, he's a him to me because he looks like a little boy. I'm like staying out of it. I'm just gonna stay here. But she proves that she's worthy for him. So anyway, I think it just goes to show that like Maeve, Erewhon, these troubled people, like they're choosing to be evil and do this.
They're power hungry and
right. Or Amryn, who chooses to be good here.
Yeah.
Because she loves.
She finds her place too.
Right. So she's good. So it's so interesting. But anyway, keep it going because we'll get into more theories at the end here. We're almost done with this one. So where'd I go? Oh yes. So then we do the final healing. So there's a couple chapters of this, like we're really facing our demons. There's a full hearing. And then literally in this, they just say, Chaol and Irene express their love for each other.
And boy, do they.
Okay. That's what we're calling that. All right. We express our love for each other. They bang everybody. The banging happens. And it's beautiful. It's stinking beautiful. No joke. I love it.
Is this when, or does this come later when he gives her the locket? Because that scene.
Oh yeah, good.
When he gives her the locket, and he's like, "You endured all this. You went over mountains and seas, and like."
He gives her that when they're there on her birthday.
For her birthday.
Oh,
I just skipped that. Sorry. Yep.
I love that scene so much. So beautiful.
Yes. And so she can like keep the note in it too, right? That's what she puts in it, right?
Yes.
The note in it. But she still hasn't told him what?
Because he's like, there's something that you always touch in your pocket.
He's like, I don't know what it is, but this should be big enough for it. So
He's so thoughtful. So proud of him.
I know. He's come a long way.
You've leveled up, buddy. You did it. Okay. So Sartaq and Nesryn have gotten back now, and they gather everyone together, tell them what they learned, and then Nesryn tells Falcon she might know his niece, and asks if he will come north with them, because that's Lysandra, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it is. It's Lysandra. Yeah. That whole scene gets me every time when he realizes that he has a real thread to go on. Like he has like a real, and he's like kind of crying, I think, and like, oh my god, he's an iconic character too. When he's like, he turns into a Karenqui spider, and I'm like, what? Dang. Iconic.
Yes, I love it. So a messenger rushes in with a note for Chaol, and he needs to go. He requests their presence back in Annika. Oh,
yes. Like, come back, please come back.
Yeah, come back. That's what happens. That's right. They didn't get back yet. They got back from the harrowing experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. And then Chaol is telling her everything. And how like Aelin was able to burn Valg, and about Dorian, and just like the whole thing, he finally gets it all out. And so this makes Irene think that the Valg are parasites, and she thinks her healer's gift could treat those infected by the Vogue with much greater success in saving the host. Powerful people like Aelin and Dorian would have to hold them down while Irene did this. This is probably why Erewhon's minions are hunting her, because they know what she can do. And I was like, she's so great, but also so scary, but like, this is amazing. This is great. So Sar tells them that Aelin's group defeated Meg's fleet, and that Aelin called in her debts from many different people, which is the Silent Assassins, the Red Desert, and Wendelin, and of course Annika as well. And she promises Hussar a better world if they'll join.
Yeah.
When they make it to the tour to look for ancient texts, they can't find Hafisa. They find her iron key wedged under her door. They search the Torre and end up in the Lost Tunnels. They find her bound and gagged by Duva.
Dun, dun, dun.
She's possessed by a Vogue demon, and she killed her younger sister when her sister got suspicious. She says Maeve has been hoarding healers, and Erwin wants Irene for his own, and Duva threatens to hurt Hafisa if Irene doesn't come. Oh shit. So Hafisa knocks her chair into Duva, and a fight ensues. Irene stays behind to try to heal Hafisa. Duva begins to fight with Kale. Blah, blah, blah. He uses a mirror. That is so smart. He's so clever.
Yes.
Knocked her out. And then Irene and Kale are worried about the baby, but she was faking it and tries to kill Irene. And so they push her out of the way, and the blast hits her. Blah, blah, blah. Back and forth with this. But they like get her knocked out because
Hafisa puts her to sleep.
So,
but not after wrecking Kale again.
Yeah, Kale. Yep, his spine.
There's too much damage to repair, and so she feels that he's gonna die. And then all the healers line up with their hands on their shoulders so that they can heal him together, which is really beautiful. Yeah. And he heals everything. So he's a brand new boy. He's a brand spanking new boy, no scars, no nothing left.
Oh, yeah.
But she bound her life to hers. So his legs will only function when she's in power, which is so cool. Okay? Like, it's super
That's such an interesting concept.
It's so, so when she's had to heal too much, he'll need to use his cane.
His cane, or maybe even the wheelchair.
Because,
which is just, like... It's okay. So it's super interesting for a couple of reasons. One of them being now, she can no longer burn herself out without hurting her love. So now her depleting herself isn't just a matter of selflessness anymore.
Yeah.
There's no more,
it's just reckless.
On both ends.
Totally.
With your life. Because of course, if she really needed to heal something, Kale would be like, yeah, I'll sit in, like, I'll take my chair up if I need to. But now it's not just self-sacrifice. It's of her love. And I think that is fucking brilliant, especially when she's just been told the kind of power that she'll have going forward, which we know she will want to save every person she finds that is possessed by a Vogue. And for her now to be tied to her love, she can't just go burning herself out. Like, she needs to now think about what she's doing. And I think that is fucking brilliant.
And I love that it brings through this concept of like what you do impacts other people. And this does it in a very direct way. So it's just a cool way to do that and really make it very present and live for them, the character. So I just loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that the price wasn't her giving up her power like we've seen in other books.
Yeah. Well, especially because we need there. Like, we need it. We need her to have this, and until we know if other people can, or like what can be done about it.
Yeah.
So, it's just so cool. But I've definitely read things where like fated mates, like you obviously can give your power to the person, but for it to literally mean like you cripple him when you do too much is just it's brilliant.
It is very poignant. Yeah.
So, could you imagine if Aelin did that to Rowan every time, like she tapped into that like power, like my God,
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, she does like really. I mean, she does like drain him.
Empire of Storms. There was that one scene where they held hands, and then she was possessed by Diana too. But
Yeah.
I think this concept of power, and I know you said we're going to get into it in a minute, but like when in Crescent City, when they talk about the drop and like having this endless well of power and Aelin going into her power.
Aelin, it's the same idea.
It's the same thing, Irene. So I just think that this is going to be something that's going to be carried forward in the future in terms of it being significant in defeating the Blog, tapping into combined power, that well of power.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a very tangible thing of like, she can't brush it off because he can feel it. It's a thing where, you know, before she'd be like, oh, I'm fine. And then she slept for a whole day, you know? And so it's like, you went too far. Like, it's literally like she can't bullshit her partner because she's like, well, I can't walk anymore, so you're lying.
Like, right, yeah. And it's also going to be difficult because it's like he can't be on the battlefield when she's also doing these like insane healings. Like, how the hell are they going to balance that out?
Well, we're going to see. It's going to be interesting. Their connection will protect them both. Yes, they are both self-sacrificing people. That is correct. That's correct because, well, I don't know what it would affect her emotionally, but it's not like if he died, it would hurt her. It's really kind of a one-way thing. I mean, it would still that would hurt her, obviously, but he wouldn't want to.
Yeah, Kale is definitely self-sacrificing as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the real incentive is actually to protect yourself.
To actually protect herself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, it even says like if he were to die, she would die too.
Yeah, they die at the same time.
Did it? Okay.
They're fully connected.
Right. Oh God, I hate that and love that at the same time.
I know, I hate it, but I love it.
He has to be mindful of it.
That's the recent favor bargain that they make at the end of. They make.
Oh, right.
Remember? You remember what that means later on? Anyway. But that's literally a bargain. Like they make a bargain themselves. It's tattooed. I'm gonna die at the same time as you.
Yes.
Extremely reckless thing for people who want to be parents to make, but I understand. Okay. Anyway, I've read too many single dad romances. I am not even referencing other stuff. Like I've read too many single parent romances.
You're right.
You'd have made a deal with your partner that you'll die at the same time.
I know.
Like, great, let's orphan everyone. Sorry. I read a lot of single dad romances this month, so it pops into mind. Okay. We're almost there. So yes, so now we want to try to heal Duva, but the Valg that's in her is very powerful. Where are we at? The demon in Duva is worse than in Kale. Well, he wasn't really being possessed. Avisa tries to keep her under while Irene works. She goes into her consciousness to fight the demon with light. And Duva I don't need to read that, blah, 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 vomiting up black smoke. And then the Kaga says he will give Irene anything for saving his daughter, and she has one request, of course.
Yeah, she's like, I have a favor.
Yes. So then Kale and Irene finally get to have a sit down with Nezran and Sartak, and we have an information swap. And they are on their way to join Aelin, which they don't know Aelin's not there. So there's that. And then Nezran finds a 2-week-old note from her uncle and rushes to his house. Oh yeah, this was so cute. Her family,
yes.
Sartak. And he tells his father that he's like, what he's gonna do, and his father makes him the heir.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he was like, if this is what it takes to be the heir, I don't want it. And then the Kagan's like, you're the heir anyway.
Too bad.
I think it just showed though, because he's like, he told his father he's going after the woman he loves, and then he's like, you're it. Everyone else has just been at home causing problems, trying to get in each other's way, and he's like, I don't care about this shit. I got stuff to do. And the dad's like, that makes you a leader. Here you go.
Yeah.
I love that, actually. I was like, oh, that's amazing.
It's almost like he was waiting to see that in
any of them. Like, they all just were staying around trying to get his favor, and it's like, this is the way you get favor. Like, you do shit. And again, like, I do wish we got to see more of the Kagan, but I think it works better as him being kind of out of it. But, like, it just reinforces that he is a good leader, because we don't get to see it a lot of him because he's grieving and we're going through this stuff, but like, he loves his kids, and I think to a certain degree, like seeing them all attack each other the way it is just like, you guys are missing the point. Like, that's not a good way to set up your kingdom.
Yeah.
Because you've made enemies of everyone.
And I think it also is, it really does, is it is telling what a good leader he is in that he's grieving, so he doesn't need to be part of this. He should be removed and be, grievance lost of his youngest and not all of it that he can,
Yeah. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, the way that Sartak leads his people very much reminds me of how Cassian leads the Illyrian.
Warriors.
They're both these like generals.
Yeah.
And they lead in similar ways. It's interesting.
Yeah. They lead in a much more straightforward and Cassian would be more friends of his people if they weren't fucking idiots up there. But I mean, Sartak's like that, like friend of the people person. Like you rule that way. Like that's a certain kind of leader who does that. Yeah. Okay, so now we're on the boats. They get married. Yay, another secret wedding. Could you stop doing fucking secret weddings, Sarah?
Secret weddings.
Like at least this one isn't done as like a terrible reveal. Like we find out the chapter after. That's fine.
Right.
And then she's like gonna get rid of the note. And then Kale's like, "Oh my god, I know who wrote this. This is Aelin."
He's just crying.
I know.
He's just crying, reading the note. Yeah.
I'm so happy about it too because I know that obviously I know because I've seen it, but I remember when I was finishing this and I was like, he's coming back like completely healed.
Yeah.
Because not only, he was already working through his feelings about Selena stuff before, but then all this stuff happens and he's never really had a chance to catch up on it. So he's done all this healing. And now he knows that Selena literally sent his love to him without even knowing it. Mm-hmm. So it's all this is how happy he's gonna be to see her again.
Yes,
his friend, because they were another couple that they were friends-ish from their training together and running together and all these things. And he of course was a captain of the guard, so he's suspicious and doesn't trust her and stuff. But they were more people who slept together because they were friends, and
it was convenient. It was another convenient relationship. Yeah.
And so to have this revealed, to know that I don't know, it just makes me so happy. It makes me so happy that he's going back with this new appreciation. He's going back with a wife and with this new determination. And now he's not going back because of duty. Yes. He is, but he's going back with love too. He's literally going back with his love, and he's going back with I want this world to be better,
and I want to help. I want to be a part of that change.
Yeah.
And I love his romance with Dorian.
Yes,
it's so good. I love their friendship so much.
Mm-hmm. There's guys, those of you who haven't read this yet, I'm just telling you guys, when we get to Kingdom of Ash, the amount of reunions that happen in this book, just be prepared. Just live
so many.
It, because I cannot even count them. This was my very first reading vlog I ever did for a book. I did a book for Kingdom of Ash, or a video for Kingdom of Ash.
Yeah.
And I cried so many times from happy things. There were sad things.
Yeah, too, this reread is gonna get me.
From happy things, because that book is just fucking amazing. I'm so excited for us to read it. But there's so many beautiful, the trio get adorable moments, okay? The trio get adorable moments. And, they each have their own partner, and they each have their different stake in the game. But it was these three in chapter 1 of the very first book. These three people walked out of a salt mine together.
Yeah.
And we're going into it. And I just love it so much.
Oh, my God. I'm so ready for the reread.
Yeah.
So ready.
It's great. It's going to be great. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fact that Aelin saved Irene, blessed by Silva, even if Aelin didn't know she needed to save Irene. That's right. Well, Selena and Aelin, they just do that so often. And that's why for me, I don't need everything Aelin does to make sense.
Yes.
Because she really is a godlike character to me. In what she's able to do and what she does. And I don't expect her to have she does still have flaws, of course, but I don't expect her to have the same kind of flaws and the same kind of things as other characters, because she just kind of sits at this place of it's all going to work out for Aelin.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Like in this story, in this series, I'm okay with that. And the amount of like seeds that Sarah plants to have them work out perfectly just brings me so much joy. And oh God, like this one even does it too. And I think that's why this book, like, it turns out so good, even if people are skeptical to read it, because even in this book, when we're away from Aelin, we get to see so many like good things that got put in place. And then we, you know, have our Aelin stuck in a box being tortured.
Well, not the last 2 pages. I'm still mad. I'm still mad at Sarah for those last 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was watching someone do a reading vlog, and they skipped reading this completely.
People skip it, and I'm like, how?
And they're like, I'm never gonna read that book. And I'm like, but you learn. I feel like you learn so much about the world, like overall.
People really think this is like a separate story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not though. Yeah. It's not separate from the series.
Like I get it, it's on the same timeline, but you learn so much about the world from this book. Like, I mean,
yeah. Well, as a reread, I know, and I know Joe's not here to talk about this, but this time through, I know Joe had wanted to jump to Kingdom of Ash just to see what it was like reading one to the other, but I don't think she ended up doing it because she wanted to read in order with us. But I was like, I mean, I guess, but now how much I love Tower of Dawn, I like wouldn't do it even to see. I don't know, I just wouldn't do it because
I think
it makes you feel this time as well.
Yeah. What I'm curious to try on my next reread is the tandem. Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn at the same time. There's a list you can find of the chapters. I would be very interested to see how my experience is doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, going back and forth. So read a couple.
Yes, going back and forth.
Yeah.
I would also be interested sometime in reading this one first. Like reading Shadows and then going to this one. Like what that's like.
Because you could.
Because this one, like if you followed Chaos Journey first.
And then you go back.
Right, and you know all the things. And then you go read it and you see what happens to her. Like, I think that'd be
interesting.
Because you would just hear the things that they're saying that she's done and not like know what's going on. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So many, we just have to reread this like 100 times.
A million times.
What you're saying.
I mean, when it'll be another 2 years before, you know, we'll do it again. Like, it'll happen. We still don't know when Crescent City 3 is coming.
Is that the next book?
Yes.
Yeah.
She confirmed it. She confirmed it on the live show we did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But because of the character split up, it's going to be different. Yeah. The different perspectives we're getting. That's what she said anyway. So,
okay. Yeah.
Anyway, SJM lives up to the reputation of the major Inverdad. This is true.
There is a lot to get through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's like what we said of like the chapters being 20 pages and then being like very, very short jumps back and forth.
And a lot is kind of being thrown at you to digest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But again, because we're really only going from 2 groups back and forth, you know, like we're going from Nezrin and, you know, like those Nezrin and Sartak and her and you know, and are there any that are actually Sartak's point of view?
I don't think
they are. I think it's all Nezrin.
It's all Nezrin. No, yeah, you're right.
Because it's really only 3 perspectives.
You're right. It's not. Yeah, Sartak doesn't get his own POV in this.
Yeah, we don't know
we don't know his mindset.
Is. Like it's just Nezrin and then Kial and Irene. So this is literally like her least amount
of POVs. Yeah.
Because even like Throne of Glass has, like, does Kaltain show up in there? Yeah, she has one. Yeah, she has one. So
she has like they're very short, but she does have.
Right. It's a little bit of something. Yeah.
She does. So it's very interesting. And you know what, Amanda? I actually think that might have been what Joe meant she wanted to do, but I don't think that it happened this time. But yeah,
that's gonna be my thing for next time, though. I want to try the.
I just don't know how I could unless someone did like a fan bind out for me. Because like to me, it would just end up being then that there's like 15 POVs, like there wasn't another, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you did a tandem and you did that, you'd be going from Nezrin to Selena, to Rowan. You know, like then I just feel like
That could absolutely get confusing, but I think for me, it would just be really interesting to see like what is happening at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That's why I would want to try it, but it could absolutely get overwhelming. Like, what is going
how
on?
fast are they learning these things that
Yes.
is lighting the world on fire?
Right.
You know, is that happening like days later, or is it like weeks later?
Right. Like we need a timeline. You really need a timeline to know, to be able to follow.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Oh yeah, in mine I have the one that my exclusive in mine is her notes on it. That's what I have in the back.
Oh, what is it? Anything interesting?
Yeah, mine is a behind the scenes look at her like outline kind of for Tower of Dawn.
Oh, cool.
So it says like, this is the Kale novella. And it was like, magic has a cost. Irene will be out of it for days after she does stuff. Like, it's like all these notes being put together. And then...
Where'd you get that, Jen?
Well, mine was the one I got when I went to her signing, but I can't remember if it was the it's not the Tart.
Like, was it Barnes and Noble? Was it
a special edition or something through?
It probably was one of those exclusive editions.
Yeah.
Well, this one says it was a limited edition B. Like, holy shit, there's 7 different ones. Because it says there was the hardcover, the ebook, exclusive edition, special edition, special edition, limited edition A, limited edition B.
But you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. People have posted these little exclusive things.
You can look at this
easily. One. Yeah.
This is the one I got when I went to the signing, but it was a Barnes and Noble special edition.
Yeah. So I mean, you could easily look up. Somebody posted them somewhere. It's fine. You know.
Yeah, it's her notes on it, and then she has an annotated chapter, and it's chapter 36.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's like there's extra chapters at the end of Silver Flames, depending on what edition.
Yeah.
You got.
Yeah, and you could look up any of them. Yeah, you can read any of them.
And then she has notes like more antagonism from Irene. She needs to be a bit meaner. There needs to be more content. Nesrin visiting her family. Oh, it's so fun. Like, there's like notes, like
little annotations.
Right. Yeah. So that's what mine had anyway. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But anyway, well, see, we still managed to talk for 2 hours. That was great. But, yeah. So
easy.
So crazy. Yeah, I have my literal like receipt from getting it too. It's so fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
So long ago that I got that. I used that as the bookmark and never threw it away. It's funny. Anyway, so this was great. I do apologize again if this was a little all over the place for some people, but I think we touched on everything important that I wanted to. And it's just such a good story. I'm so excited for more. So yeah, so the next one, of course, we're doing A Court of Frost and Starlight. This one is the novella that also is still over 200 pages, even though it's a novella, but it didn't go quite as bonkers as this novella did. Yes. Yeah. So this one, we're actually only doing like 2 weeks before we do, like 2 weeks into November. I think I have it on the 16th or something.
12th.
The 12th.
Today.
The 12th. Thank you. Yeah, so only 2 weeks in, but that shouldn't be a problem. It should be easy enough for us to do that, because then I didn't want to get in the way of any of the holidays.
Perfect.
For anyone, just because, I mean, I'm sure it would have been fine, but there'll be enough stuff coming at the end of November. So yeah, we'll have 2 weeks to read Court of Frost and Starlight. And again, don't be deceived. There are definitely some setups that happen in this. This is another one where people are like harsh about it. And I'm like, they're like, oh, all they were doing was like banging. And I was like, I mean, no, that's not all that was happening. But also, why are you so mad about this? Like,
it was just like a fun little like wintry novella.
Yeah,
just
and
like,
a setup for Nesta.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
it's a great setup for Nesta.
I think of it as like an extended epilogue of Reese and Feyre setting up for Silver Flames.
Yeah.
Like,
showing Feyre getting to be like the High Lady and her with her people, and Christmas time, like lots of cute like bantery stuff, and a really dark peek at how Tamlin's doing.
That's true. I forgot about that.
I reread that chapter so many times the first time, because I've said this, like, I've had an interesting journey with Tamlin, and I really hope we get more of him someday.
Please.
I want more of him someday because I love a redemption arc.
Yes.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
And I mean, he gave her Reese back, so he technically is like redeemed to me. He still just has damage to work through. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he helped them in other things as well. Yeah.
I have a complicated view with Tamlin. I'm not like where he stands right now. I'm like, I can see that road very clearly.
Yes.
Like, got a little confused there, but now we're on that right path, you know.
Rutu, you didn't read Mist and Fury yet? Girl!
More Wings and Ruin?
I'm ashamed of you. Yeah, you better hustle. I mean,
do it.
You basically, though, before we do Silver Flames, you have like 3 months. So
true. That's true.
But, and also, like I said, I think I have a plan where we have like 6 weeks to read Kingdom of Ash.
We need it. We need it.
You'll need it emotionally. Although I read that in 11 hours the first time.
Oh my God.
I told you I bought it. I went and picked it up at Target the minute that Target was open. They had it on the shelves, and I finished it at 10 o'clock at night. I vlogged the whole thing.
I need to watch that vlog.
I mean, I need to watch it. I'm also scared. But it'll be good for me. It'll be good for me.
Yeah.
Don't mind me bawling. I had glasses still back then. It's really funny to watch when I still wore glasses.
You're going to do like a side by side, do a vlog currently.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, I should. I was also over 300 pounds when I filmed that video too. So watching those videos, I'm kind of like, wow, that's a different case. That's a different case. It's also how I talked about books when I first started because I didn't know what to talk about. So it would just be like, I love it. I love it. Like, it's an hour of me. No, I took notes too. So first it's me reading it, and then it's 20 minutes of me like, I used to stand when I filmed. I talk way too much.
That. Yeah.
Well, I know. I thought I needed to be like Christine Riccio. I've said this.
Oh, yes.
I do. And for all of her Sarah J. Maas vlogs, she's like standing and like bouncing around, and I thought that's who I needed to be.
Right.
So I'm like, the first half of it is me like on my couch crying, and then when I finished it at 10 o'clock, I was like, I have to film my thoughts. So I'm like standing up, just like emotionally broken, talking about this book after.
Myself about Jen is like, you've gone from like standing up to vlogging to like there are clips of you now on your couch. Like,
I also like I've snagged the people already, like it's here. But also, I talk too long to do videos where I stand.
Oh, yeah.
Like, none of my videos are shorter than 20 minutes. I can't stand up to do shit. I think I may need to reread. Oh, my gosh.
Yes,
I mean,
do it. Yes.
Yes, Candace.
This is self-care.
I mean, as soon as the last part of Wings of Ruin come out on audio, I'm going to do that. Because I could only listen to the first 2, and then
I know.
Like I literally got I bought them from the company instead of waiting till they released on the anyway. Because I was like, I'm not waiting. But I think it doesn't come out till
November, late November, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm totally gonna listen to that because that's the best part. Well, it's not. It's that. But like the battle and everything.
That's an epic part of the story. Yeah.
But anyway, I'll get off the live part. Thank you, everyone who came. We'll see you in a couple weeks for Court of Frost and Starlight. Have a happy Halloween tomorrow, and we'll talk to you later.